Okay, I'm live. Sorry, guys. I wanted to show you my new chair because I haven't showed you guys yet during the live because my last Thursday show I was at a hotel. Oh, so yeah, it still has the tag. It was $24, 23.99, and it's mine now. So get my book. I did get. Do you like that? I put the fireplace on for you. I put the fireplace on for you, so you know. Relax with me when we read. I did get a oh hey Pam, I did get a frosticino. It is summer after all, although I did put it 73 in here, so don't worry, I'm not too warm. Mm. And yes, about last night, they did take down my live stream after for a little while. But it's fine because they they put it back, but I'm curious why they took it down, and nobody did explain to me, although they did say they were sorry. I don't know if they explained to me. I'll have to ask um, my management, but because they didn't, because I was concerned that it was because of some of the wording in the book, if they found it to be like racist or have like too much like racial undertones or whatever, because the book is over 300 years old, and I can't like I don't know, like I okay, so I guess I could change it. Like, why am I gonna say this word unless like I don't know. I want to get okay. So the word is Negroes because they're talking about Africans on the I believe, yeah, I think they're on the coast of Africa. So where we left off last night. So when I say that, please don't ban me, YouTube. And I'm just reading from the book, and um, that's just her perspective of seeing the people there. So yeah, I hope that you guys enjoy this. I'm gonna try it like it could get a little darker. It is 5:43. We'll see how it goes. And yeah, so if you remember where we were yesterday, we'll take off where we left off. I believe it was, yeah, I know, it was right here. Okay, so page 18. I gave me Miss Clucky. I told him about you then. He told me Miss Clucky is actually a duck, Miss Ducky. Oh, but there's nothing wrong with a duck and a chicken getting married. They're of the same, like they're both like birds, so there's nothing wrong with that. I think God condones. So okay, so are you ready? Are you all ready? I'm just trying to get comfortable. Yeah. Okay, that's good. Interspecial. Yes, it's not interspecial. Okay. So, yet such was the fright. Page 18. Yet such was the fright I had taken at the Moors, and the dreadful apprehensions I had of falling into their hands, that I would not stop or go on shore, or come to an anchor, the wind continuing fair, till I had sailed in that manner 5 days. And then the wind shifting to the southward, I concluded also that if any of our vessels were in chase of me, they also would now give over. So I ventured to make to the coast and come to an anchor in the mouth of a little river. I knew not what or where, neither what latitude, what country, what nation. Oh no, I think I did read this part. I'm sorry. Yes, okay. So I think we're on page 19. Well, there you go. There's a little catch up. There's a little catch up for you from yesterday. Um, oh, here we go. Yes. Okay. Yeah. So, where we left off, there was like an animal, and they were afraid of an attack, and we don't know yet what animal it was. But he swam to the land, and then they decided that they were going to stay on the boat. So, yeah. Okay. Here we go. But that as it would, we were obliged to go on shore somewhere or other for water, for we had not a pint left in the boat. When and where to get it was the point. Zuri said if I would let him go to the shore with one of the jars, he would find if there was any water, and bring some to me. I asked him why he would go, why I should not go, and he stay in the boat. The boy answered with so much affection that he made me love him ever after. Says he, if wild man come, they eat me. You go away. Well, Zuri, said I, we will both go, and if the wild mans come, we will kill them. They shall eat neither of us. So I gave Zuri a piece of rust bread to eat, and dram out of our patron's case of bottles, which I mentioned before, and we hauled in the boat as near the shore as we thought was proper, and so waded to shore, carrying nothing but our arms and 2 jars for water. So basically, he's gonna send the kid off to God knows what, and oh, Julian's here. Oh, hey everybody. So it's gonna send the kid off and be like, oh, I love you, but bye. Okay, we'll see what happens to that. I did not care to go out of sight of the boat, fearing the coming of canoes with savages down the river. But the boy, seeing a low place about a mile up the country, rambled to it, and by, I saw him come running towards me. I thought he was pursued by some savage or frightened by some wild beast, and I therefore ran forwards to help him. But when I came nearer to him, I saw something hanging over his shoulders, which was a creature that he had shot like a hare, but different in color, and longer legs. However, we were very glad of it, and it was very good meat. But the great joy that poor Zuri came with was to tell me he had found good water and seen no wild man. But we found afterwards that we need not take such pains for water, for a little higher up the creek where we were, we found the water fresh when the tide was out, which flowed but a little way up. So we filled our jars, and having a fire, feasted on the hare we had killed, and prepared to go our way, having seen no footsteps of any human creature in that part of the country. As I had been one voyage to the coast before, I knew very well that the islands of the Canaries and the Cape de Verde Islands also lay not far from the coast. But as I had no instruments to take an observation to find what latitude we were in, and did not exactly know, or at least remember, what latitude they were in, I knew not where to look for them, or when to stand off to sea towards them. Otherwise, I might now have easily found some of these islands. But my hope was that if I stood along this coast till I come to the part where the English traded, I should find some of their vessels upon their usual design of trade, that would relieve and take us in. By my best calculation, the place where I now was must be that country which, lying between the Emperor of Morocco's dominions and the Negroes, lies waste and uninhabited except by wild beasts, the Negroes having abandoned it and gone further south for fear of the Moors, and the Moors not thinking it worth inhabiting, by reason of its barrenness, and indeed both forsaking it because of the prodigious number of tigers, lions, leopards, and other furious creatures which harbor there, so that the Moors use it for their hunting only, where they go like an army, 2 or 3 thousand men at a time, and indeed for near 100 miles together upon this coast we saw nothing but a waste, uninhabited country by day, and heard nothing but howling and roaring of the wild beasts by night. Once or twice in the daytime, I thought I saw the Pico of Tenerife, being the top of the mountain Tenerife in the Canaries, and had a great mind to venture out in hopes of reaching neither. But having tried twice, I was forced in again by contrary winds. The sea was also going too high for my little vessel, so I resolved to pursue my first design and keep along the shore. Several times I was obliged to land for fresh water. After we had left this place, and once in particular, being early in the morning, we came to an anchor under a little point of land, which was pretty high, and the tide beginning to flow, we lay still to go farther in. Zuri, whose eyes were more about him than, it seems, mine were, calls softly to me and tells me that we had best go farther off the shore. For, says he, look yonder lies a dreadful monster on the side of that hillock, fast asleep. I looked where he pointed, and saw a dreadful monster indeed, for it was a terrible great lion, and lay on the side of the shore under the shade of a piece of the hill, that hung as it were over him. Zuri, says I, you shall go on shore and kill him. Zuri looked frightened and said, me kill? He eat me at one mouthful he meant. However, I said no more to the boy, but bade him be still, and I took our biggest gun, which was almost musket bore, and loaded it with a good charge of powder, and with two slugs, and laid it down. And I loaded another gun with two bullets, and a third, for we had three pieces. I loaded with five smaller bullets. I took the best aim I could with the first piece to have shot him in the head, but he lay so with his leg raised a little above his nose that the slugs hit his leg about the knee and broke the bone. He started up growling at first, but finding his leg broke, fell down again and then got up upon three legs and gave the most hideous roar I had ever heard. I was a little surprised that I had not hit him in the head. However, I took up the second piece immediately, and though he began to move off, fired again and shot him in the head, and had the pleasure to see him drop and make but little noise, but lie struggling for life. Then Zuri took heart and would have let me go on shore. Well, go, said I. So the boy jumped into the water, and taking a little gun in one hand, swam to shore with the other hand, and coming close to the creature, put the muzzle of the piece to his ear and shot him in the head again, which dispatched him quite. Okay, so like I don't have any experience killing. And oh, hey Joel, hey Arthur, hey guys. Killing animals like this, but I do know like they're not easy. Like you need some heavy bullets. Like I have certain bullets like this will kill this. This will kill anything in this continent. This will kill a polar bear because like yeah, like a bear. You think you can just like shoot a bear and it'll die? No, like you'll have several. Like I know he was aiming for the head, but they're very thick bones, like some of these animals. Basically, if y'all catch yourself near a lion, like I don't know what to tell you. Like there's going to be some show, like like I was gonna say, run for your life. Maybe that's like the wrong move, but I'm not like a lion expert or anything. But what I do know is just having like one small like gun or something that might not necessarily hurt. Like certainly not, I don't think any handgun. And that concludes our gun hour. Well, we'll see what happens. I wonder if they take it and eat it or take its teeth or something. It's got to be something of value there, huh? Oh, hey, Edward. Okay, back to the book. This was game indeed to us, but it was no food, and I was very sorry to lose three charges of powder and shot upon a creature that was good for nothing to us. However, Zuri said he would have some of him, so he comes on board and asked me to give him the hatchet. For what, Zuri? Said I. Me cut off his head, said he. However, Zuri could not cut off his head, but he cut off a foot and brought it with him. Okay. And it was a monstrous great one. I bethought myself, however, that perhaps the skin of him might, one way or another, be of some value to us, and I resolved to take off his skin, if I could. So Zuri and I went to work with him, but Zuri was much the better workman at it, for I knew very ill how to do it. Indeed, it took us both up the whole day, but at last we got off the hide of him, and spreading it on top of our cabin, the sun effectually dried it in 2 days' time, and afterwards served me to lie upon. After this stop, we made on to the southward continually, for 10 or 12 days, living very sparingly on our provisions, which began to abate very much, and going no oftener into the shore than we were obliged to for fresh water. My design in this was to make the river at Gambia or Senegal, that is to say, anywhere about the Cape de Verde, where I was in hopes to meet with some European ship. And if I did not, I knew not what course I had to take, but to seek for the islands or perish among the Negroes. I knew that all the ships from Europe, which sailed neither to the coast of Guinea, you guys, every time it says Negroes, I want to say African American, but I think that would throw off the story because they're not anywhere near America, or maybe they are at some point. Maybe I'll say African Americans if they get closer to America. I'm sorry this offends you guys. I feel so bad. Okay. Joel, you can tell me what to say. Okay, I'll say whatever you want. My boss used to hunt bear and sell the meat and skin to make art. Yeah, I've never seen a lion skin, but I would imagine it's highly illegal. To hunt those type of animals. But yeah, like I don't see giraffe skin either. But I have a lot of furs like this one. This is my silver fox. You guys know I love this. This is from, um, the brand Chloe, Chloe, Chloe. Um, I have this one. I have mink. I have rabbits, various colors, black and brown and stuff. But I do like fox. Fox is very soft. I will lay it here with me, but with the white dress, it'll be too much. But yeah, that's my silver. And I got that coat for, gosh, I believe it was only $30 at the thrift when I got it. They had just put it out. Anyway, I don't know what a lion would look like, but I would imagine if you kept the head and lay it on the floor, wouldn't I look great if I had to shoot like on a lion or a bear? Like, I think that would look cool. I think that would look cool. Okay. Okay, enough about our hunting. Okay. Okay. Um, ooh. When I had pursued this resolution about 10 days longer, as I have said, I began to see that the land was inhabited. And in 2 or 3 places, as we sailed by, we saw people stand upon the shore to look at us. We could also perceive that they were quite black and stark naked. I was once inclined to have gone on shore to them, but Zuri was my better counselor and said to me, "No go, no go." However, I hauled in nearer the shore and that I might talk to them. And I found they ran along the shore by me a good way. I observed they had no weapons in their hands except one, who had a long, slender stick, which Zuri said was a lance, and that they would throw them a great way with good aim. So I kept at a distance, but talked to them by signs as well as I could, and particularly made signs for something to eat. They beckoned to me to stop my boat, and they would fetch me some meat. Upon this, I lowered the top of my sail and lay by, and 2 of them ran up into the country, and in less than half an hour came back, and brought with them 2 pieces of dry flesh and some corn, such as the produce of their country. But we neither knew what the one or the other was. However, we were willing to accept it, but how to come at it was our next dispute. For I was not venturing on the shore for them, and they were as much afraid of us. But they took a safe way for us all. For they brought it to the shore and laid it down, and went and stood a great way off till we fetched it on board, and then came close to us again. We made signs of thanks to them, for we had nothing to make them amends. But an opportunity offered that very instant to oblige them wonderfully. And for while we were laying by the shore, came 2 mighty mountains toward the sea. Whether it was the male pursuing the female, or whether they were in sport or in rage, we could not tell, any more than we could tell whether it was usual or strange. But I believe it was the latter, because in the first place, those ravenous creatures seldom appear but in the night, and in the second place, we found the people terribly frightened, especially the women. The man, the man that had the lance or dart did not fly from them, but did the rest. The rest did. However, as the two creatures ran directly into the water, they did not seem to offer to fall upon any of the negroes, but plunged themselves into the sea and swam about as if they had come for their diversion. At least one of them began to come nearer our boat than I at first expected. But I lay ready for him, for I had loaded my gun with all possible expedition, and bade Zuri load both the others. As soon as he came fairly within my reach, I fired and shot him directly in the head. Immediately he sunk down in the water, but rose instantly and plunged up and down as if he was struggling for life. And so indeed he was. He immediately made to the shore, but between the wound, which was his mortal hurt, and the strangling of the water, he died just before he reached the shore. It is impossible to express the astonishment of these poor creatures at the noise and fire of my gun. Some of them were even ready to die for fear and fell down as dead with the very terror. But when they saw the creature dead and sunk in the water, and that I made signs to them to come to the shore, they took heart and come to the shore, and began to search for the creature. I found him by his blood staining the water, and by the help of a rope which I slung round him and gave the negroes to haul, they dragged him offshore and found it was the most curious leopard. I was wondering the whole time, what is it? Spotted and fine to an admirable degree, and the negroes held up their hands with admiration to think what it was I had killed him with. That would hurt, yes. The other creature, frightened with the flash of fire and the noise of the gun, swam on shore and ran up directly to the mountains from whence they came. Nor could I at that distance know what it was. I found quickly the negroes were for eating the flesh of this creature, so I was willing to have them take it as a favor from me, which when I made signs to them that they might take him, they were very thankful for. Immediately they fell to work with him, and though they had no knife, yet with a sharpened piece of wood, they took off his skin as readily and as much more readily than we could have done with a knife. They offered me some of the flesh, which I declined, making as if I would give it to them, but made signs for the skin, which they gave me very freely, and brought me a great deal more of their provisions, which, though I did not understand, yet I accepted. I then made signs to them for some water, and held out one of my jars to them, turning it bottom upwards to show that it was empty, and that I wanted to have it filled. They called immediately to some of their friends, and there came two women, and brought a great vessel made of earth, and burnt, as I suppose, in the sun. As this they set down to me, as before, and I sent Zuri on shore with my jars, and filled them all three. The women were as stark naked as the men. Don't ask for a demonstration. Not just yet. I was just thinking, like, you ever have that where you're so like, I actually have that because I live in California. So I have that happen sometimes where like people don't speak English and you're trying to like to get them to understand something, or I've had that happen at yard sales where maybe the daughter or like grandkids speak English, but they're helping someone. So you find like the grandmother and you would show them like some earrings or something, like how much, and anyway, just like they're trying to help him, and they're better than him just yet at like skinning these animals. Hey Angel, hi. Looking good in this dress. It's just a white dress. I forgot the design. It's actually vintage. Yeah, I haven't worn it because I'm normally in front of all the white, and I had the white shirt, and I would just blend in. But I figure with this, you could see it. Here's the neck. It's like a boat neck, but it's very like, yeah. I do a. Yeah. Whoop. Yeah. Okay. Okay. Uh, so the women are all naked. Is that where we left off? Naked women. YouTube, don't ban me. It's just a book. I'm not. I don't. There's no pictures. There's no illustrations. Okay. I was now furnished with roots and corn, such as it was, and water, and leaving my friendly negroes, I made forward for about 11 days more, without offering to go near the shore, till I saw the land run out a great length into the sea. At about the distance of 4 or 5 leagues before me, and the sea being very calm, I kept a large offing to make this for me, and the sea being very calm. Okay. At length, doubling the point at about 2 leagues from the land, I saw plainly land on the other side to seaward. Then I concluded, as it was most certain indeed, that this was the Cape de Verde, and those the islands called from thence Cape de Verde Islands. However, they were at a great distance, and I could not well tell what I had best to do. For if I should be taken with a gale of wind, I might neither reach one nor the other. In this dilemma, as I was very pensive, I stopped into the cabin and sat me down, Zuri having the helm, when on a sudden the boy cried out, Master, master, a ship with a sail. And the foolish boy was frightened out of his wits, thinking it must be it must needs be some of his master's ships sent to pursue us. When I knew we were gotten far enough out of their reach, I jumped out of the cabin and immediately saw not only the ship, but what she was, viz., that it was a Portuguese ship, and, as I thought, was bound to the coast of Guinea, or Negroes. But when I observed the course she steered, I was soon convinced that they were bound some other way, and did not design to come any nearer to the shore, upon which I stretched out to the sea as much as I could, resolving to speak with them, if possible. With all the sail I could make, I found I should not be able to come in their way, but they would be gone by before I could make any signal to them. But after I had crowded it to the utmost and began to despair, they, it seems, saw me by the help of their perspective glasses, and that it was some European boat which they supposed must belong to some ship that was lost. So they shortened sail, let me come up. I was encouraged with this, and as I had my patrons and sign on board, I had made a waft of it to them for a signal of distress, and fired a gun, both which they saw, for they told me they saw the smoke, though they did not hear the gun. Upon these signals, they very kindly brought to and lay by for me, and in about 3 hours' time, I came up with them. They asked me what I was, in Portuguese and in Spanish and in French, but I understood none of them, but at least a Scotch sailor who was on board called to me, and I answered him, and told him I was an Englishman, that I had made my escape out of slavery from the Moors at Sally. They then bade me to come on board and very kindly took me in, and all my goods. It was an inexpressible joy to me, which any one will believe, that I was thus delivered, as I esteemed it, from such a miserable and almost hopeless condition as I was in, and I immediately offered all I had to the captain of the ship as a return for my deliverance. But he generously told me he would take nothing from me, but that all I had should be delivered safe to me when I came to the Brazils. For, says he, I have saved your life in no other terms than I would be glad to be saved by myself. And it may, one time or another, be my lot to be taken up in the same condition. Besides, said he, when I carry you from the Brazils, so great a way for your own country, I should take from you what you have. You will be starved there. And then I only take away that life I had given. No, no, Senor Angles, Mr. Englishman, says he. I will carry you hither in charity, and these things will help to buy your subsistence there, and your passage home again. I suppose now, like, you'd hope you'd have some sort of like an iPhone app, they speak like a Portuguese. Actually, I had a roommate that spoke Portuguese when I first went to California. She was from Brazil, actually, so that makes sense. Um, and then Spanish, a little pequeño. You guys are talking about wrestling. I did get your messages, Arthur, about wrestling. I'm so glad you are watching wrestling again. As he was charitable in this proposal, so he was just in the performance to a title. For he ordered the seamen that none should offer to touch anything I had. But like, what does he have? He has like some wine. I missed the last couple of live shows. All work and no play. Business is good. Hey, that's good though. That's good though. I mean, that's a blessing in these times, I guess. I pray for all of you guys, everyone that watches me. God bless you. uh, and gave me back an exact inventory of them, that I might have them even so much as my 3 earthen jars. As to my boat, it was a very good one, and that he saw and told me he would buy it of me for the ship's use, and asked me what I would have for it. I told him he had been so generous to me in everything that I could not offer to make a price of the boat, but left it entirely to him. Upon which he told me he would give me a note of hand to pay me 80 pieces of 8 for it at Brazil. And when it came there, if any one offered to give me more, he would make it up. He offered me also 60 pieces of 8 more for my boy Zuri, which I was loath to take. Not that I was not willing to let the captain have him. What? This is his friend. What? Poor Zuri. Uh, But I was very loath to sell the poor boy's liberty. Yeah, who had assisted me so faithfully in procuring my own. However, when I let him know my reason, he owned it to be just and offered me this medium that he would give the boy an obligation to set him free in 10 years if he turned Christian. Upon this, and Zuri saying he was willing to go with him, I let the captain have him. We had a very good voyage to the Brazils and arrived in the Bay de Todos los Santos, or All Saints Bay, in about 22 days after. And now I was once more delivered from the most miserable of all conditions of life. And what to do next with myself, I was now to consider. The generous treatment of the captain gave me I can never enough remember. He would take nothing of me for my passage, gave me 20 ducats for the leopard skin, and 40 for the lion skin, which I had in my boat, and caused everything I had in the ship to be punctually delivered to me. And what I was willing to sell, he bought of me, such as the case of bottles, two of my guns, and a piece of the lump of beeswax, for I had made candles of the rest. In a word, I made about 220 pieces of eight of all my cargo, and with this stock I went on shore in the Brazils. Um, okay, so we'll do a little history lesson. Pieces of eight, I believe, and someone can correct me if I'm wrong. These are pieces of silver, I think, split into eights. That because I actually watched a video of American Revolution recently, and a lot of the issues of taxation that there was a disagreement upon with the crown, Britain, and the American colonies paying and what they wanted to pay in. And the most common at that time, because remember, this is pre-revolution. This is in the 1600s. This is about it was written in 1790. But this is the most common trade. So pieces of eight, yeah, they're Spanish silver coins, real silver. Okay, so I had not been long here before I was recommended to the house of a good honest man like himself, who had an ingenue, as they call it, that is, a plantation and a sugar house. I lived with him some time, and acquainted myself by that means with the manner of planting and of making sugar. And seeing how well the planters lived and how they got rich suddenly, I resolved, if I could get a license to settle there, I would turn planter among them, endeavoring in the meantime to find out some way to get my money, which I had left in London, remitted to me. To this purpose, getting a kind of letter of naturalization, I purchased as much land that was insured as my money could reach, and formed a plan for my plantation and settlement, such a one as might be suited to the stock which I proposed to myself to receive from England. I had a neighbor, a Portuguese of Lisbon, but born of English parents, whose name was Wells. And in much such circumstances as I was, I called him my neighbor because his plantation lay next to mine, and we went on very socially together. My stock was but low as well as his, and we rather planted for food than anything else. For about 2 years, however, we began to increase, and our land began to come in order. So that the third year we planted some tobacco, and made each of us a large piece of ground ready for planting canes in the year to come. But we both wanted help, and now I found more than before I had done wrong in parting with my boy Zuri. But alas, for me to do wrong that never did right was no wonder. I had no remedy but to go on. I had got into an employment quite remote from my genius. I'm wondering, like, is there no women? Isn't it back then, like, even with the settling of the West in America, like, you get a woman, you get a wagon, you have the kids, and then you make them do all the shit. You don't need a Zuri, right? I mean, if I ever get a kid, they'll play this video back, like, she's a child abuse. But like, isn't that how it's done? Are there no women? I'm wondering if when this was written in 1719, you weren't allowed to like speak of like having a woman and making kids. I don't know, maybe it's gonna get there, but like, I'm just thinking like that would be my plan. Where are all those naked women? Tobacco might have been a currency. I love your dress and panties. Aw, but it sounds better live. Oh, you're so cute. Okay, let's see if he finds a woman, shall we? And directly contrary to the life um, I delighted in, and for which I forsook my father's house, and broke through all his good advice. Nay, I was coming into the very middle station or upper degree of low life, which my father advised me to before, and which, if I resolved to go on with, I might as well have stayed at home and never have fatigued myself in the world, as I had done. And I used often to say to myself, I could have done this as well in England, among my friends, as to have gone 5,000 miles off to do it among strangers and savages in a wilderness, and at such a distance as never to hear from any part of the world that had the least knowledge of me. In this manner, I used to look upon my condition with the utmost regret. I had nobody to converse with, but now then this neighbor, no work to be done, but by the labor of my hands, and I used to say, I lived just like a man cast away upon some desolate island, that had nobody there but himself. But how just it been? And how should all men reflect that when they compare their present conditions with others that are worse, heaven may oblige them to make the exchange, and be convinced of their former felicity by their experience. I say, how just has it been that the truly solitary life I reflected on, in an island of mere desolation, should be my lot, who had so often unjustly compared it with the life which I then led, in which I continued, I had, in all probability, been exceeding prosperous and rich. Um, yeah, so basically he just regrets that he was such a miserable little punk kid. It's like now he's on an island working his ass off. So let that being a lesson to you. Careful what you wish for. Uh, I was in some degree settled in my measures for carrying on the plantation before my kind friends, the my kind friend, the captain of the ship that took me up at sea, went back, for the ship remained there, in providing his lading, and preparing for his voyage near 3 months. When telling him what little stock I had left behind me in London, he gave me this friendly and sincere advice. Senor Ingles, says he, for so he always called me, if you will give me letters and a procuration here in form to me, which orders to the person who has your money in London to send your effects to Lisbon to such persons as I shall direct, and in such goods as are proper for this country, I will bring you the produce of them. God willing, at my return, but since human affairs are all subject to changes and disasters, I would have you give orders for but 100 pounds sterling, which, you say, is half your stock, and let the hazard be run for the first, so that if it comes safe, you may order the rest the same way, and if it miscarry, you may have the other half to have recourse to for your supply. This was so wholesome advice, and looked so friendly, that I could not but be convinced it was the best course I could take. So I accordingly prepared letters to the gentlewoman with whom I left my money, and a procuration to the Portuguese captain, as he desired me. I wrote the English captain's widow a full account of all my adventures, my slavery, my escape, and how I had met with the Portuguese captain at sea, the humanity of his behavior, and what condition I was now in, with all other necessary directions for my supply. And when this honest captain came to Lisbon, he found means, by some of the English merchants there, to send over, not the order only, but a full account of my story to a merchant at London, who represented it effectually to her, whereupon she not only delivered the money, but, out of her own pocket, sent the Portuguese captain a very handsome present for his humanity and charity to me. The merchant in London, vesting this 100 pounds in English goods, such as the captain had wrote for, sent them directly to him at Lisbon, and he brought them all safe to me at the Brazils, among which, without my direction, for I was too young in my business to think of them, had taken care to have all sorts of tools, ironwork, and utensils necessary for my plantation, and which were of great use to me. When this cargo arrived, I thought my fortune made, for I was surprised with the joy of it. And my good steward, the captain, had laid out the £5 which my friend had sent him as a present for himself to purchase and bring me over a servant under bond for 6 years' service, and would not accept of any consideration except a little tobacco, which I would have him accept, being of my own produce. Neither was this all, but my goods being all English manufactures, such as cloths, stuffs, baize, and other particularly valuable and desirable in the country, I found means to sell them to a very great advantage, so that I might say I had more than 4 times the value of my first cargo, and was now infinitely beyond my poor neighbor. I mean, in the advantagement of my plantation. For the first thing I did, I bought me a Negro slave. God, oh my God. And a European servant also. I mean, another besides that, which the captain brought me from Lisbon. This guy, I'm starting not to root for him. I mean, I probably should have from the beginning, but he was just a kid. But now, I hope your servants kill you in the night. But as abused prosperity is oftentimes made the very means of our adversity, so it was with me. I went on the next year with great success in my plantation. I raised 50 great rolls of tobacco on my own ground, more than I had disposed of for necessaries among my neighbors, and these 50 rolls, being each of above 100 pounds weight, were well cured and laid by against the return of the fleet from Lisbon. And now, increasing in business and in wealth, my head began to be full of projects and undertakings beyond my reach, such as rare indeed, often the ruin of the best heads in business. Had I continued in this station I was now in, I had room for all the happy things to have yet befallen me, for which my father so earnestly recommended to a quiet, retired life, and which he had so sensibly described the middle station of life to be full of. But other things attended me, and I was still to be the whipful agent of all my own miseries, and particularly to increase my fault and double the reflections upon myself, which in my future sorrows I should have leisure to make. All these miscarriages were procured by my apparent obstinate adhering to my foolish inclination of wandering about and pursuing that inclination in contradiction to the clearest views of doing myself good in a fair and plain pursuit of those prospects, and those measures of life which nature and providence concurred to present me with, and to make my duty. You guys, this is reminding me because I know I'm just thinking ahead, but okay, so let me know if you've heard of this, but there is a story. I believe it's called The Island of the Blue Dolphin. I'm not certain, but it's a true story. This one isn't true, but it's a true. Well, this is inspired by something true, but so it's a woman that's, I believe she goes. I saw this on like some local like broadcast like PBS hour one day. But yeah, so she goes to the island, maybe on a boat that maybe gets destroyed or something, and she ends up being there for how many years? Is it 8 years? I don't have my phone. I should get my phone out. And anyway, this is a true story. So she goes. Okay, so she goes, ends up getting rescued at one point. This is true. She goes to, she gets taken in. People are like, oh my God, this woman, she's still alive. She's still alive. And they take her in, and she dies soon after from the effects of eating too much. She eats fruits and nuts, and she gets like gout or something. Like she gets sick, and from like all like the bloating of eating all this stuff, she dies within like a week. And people are like, it's crazy because like had she not gotten rescued, she may have lived longer. Like she would have lived a longer life. Like I mean, she was miserable on that, but there was so much fanfare that she came back. And yeah, and that's why people still look back like on a tragedy because like you didn't want that to happen. It reminds me of another story of a guy. Another sad story. Why is this a tragic night? And his sister got him out of jail. Like he was like falsely in jail or something. And like the next day, he gets in a car accident and dies. And he's like hit by a car. Like, and whereas if he was still in jail, he might not have had that happen. Like, it's just you can't go by that, and in life. But God, but this guy I almost wanted to go back and geek out or something. But I mean, I know it was a different time, but like he's speaking so like it's not a big deal. And he didn't want to be a slave when he was. He's like, oh, I was miserable. I have a song for you this Thursday when I call. Yeah, I can't take calls right now. My phone is actually in my bedroom on the other side of the house. But yeah, look, you can look those two up. But the island one is more interesting because how many stories do you know? And if you're watching this later, you could remark, but of any true stories of somebody that was cast away, either like on an island or a plane crash, and they were like a sole survivor or something, or that, and then they survived, or at least they were there for a while. Because that's fascinating to me when people survive, like, and not the show Survivor, that doesn't count. Okay, that's a reality show, but like, I don't know what I would do. I mean, I guess yeah, go for the furs, right? Kill those lions. Like I guess I would be like Katy Perry in the video Roar. Um, she's like, I love that video. It's amazing. Her hair's a little shorter than mine, but certainly it's black. And so like in the beginning, the guy she's with gets killed. She's like, and then she becomes like this like lion tamer. She doesn't get rescued though. She's just like queen of the jungle. But her like eyelashes are all on point. Like in Gilligan's Island when all the girls like it was a 3 hour tour, but man, they brought the wigs, the eyelashes, all that stuff they needed for 3 hours. Kind of like me when I went to the hotel last week. I'm gonna see if I'm gonna call it a night on this. How long have I? Oh, I've been here a while already. All right, we're moving. We're moving, and it takes forever. It takes forever. But you guys, it gives you even longer to go on my video I made last night after the show. It says boats after the day vote because I just want to show you my little outfit from after when I went to get some food in. But yeah, so on the next book you can certainly vote on what you want me to read next. Someone did. What did they say? I know Three Little Pigs, which is that a real book? I thought it was just like a song. Three Little Pigs. Is that a puff below his house down? And then when I was looking, I'm gonna be like, this little piggy went to market. This little piggy. Oh crap! I forget. What are the piggies, you guys? This little piggy went to market. Did I not remember that from my youth? This little piggy. I don't know. Anyway, and then he said to the Da Vinci Code, which there's no way that's public domain, but that was funny. The Da Vinci Code. I'm sure it was a joke. And what was the other one? It was a good one too. I think I was going to consider it. I mean, obviously, it's the only vote, right? Anyway, am I talking to myself at this point? All right. So I guess we'll continue with. Yeah, this will be a good beginning tomorrow. So I did like Heather. Some pages today. Yeah. So I don't have anything else we want to talk about, but thank you for sticking with me, you guys. What do you guys think? Some friend. The money, Pam with your money bags. How come I never find bags of money? I've never found a bag of money with dollar sign on it. Maybe that's why they make it too obvious when they write dollar. I should do that. I should make a bag with a dollar sign, like a white cloth bag, and like put it somewhere and see if somebody's. Is this money? Is this stacks of unmarked bills? I think I found like $1 in a jacket at the thrift. Does that count? That would be cool. No, I shouldn't prank people like that. Hey, people need money, huh? You know what? I'm gonna leave you with some advice. I'll be right back. I have another book here. Until I'm not gonna read this whole book to you. I actually couldn't. This isn't a public domain book. But for the people that stay with me, It was just a little chart that I thought was great that he had laid out because I believe it helps to understand actualization. Oh, here we go. He bases it off of a book called The Slight Edge. I've read The Slight Edge. It's a great book actually. It's by Olson, and it's about how giving like incremental amounts over time can really builds into a life and adds up. And they showed he made this chart. This isn't his book. This is another person's book, but it shows how um, putting in effort to okay. Well, basically, it's to show how most people put in a common amount of effort. But if you just put in like 10% more effort than like the average person, or you know what I mean, you can go so much farther, so much farther. Um, there's a quote like, "You can't have have an uncommon life if you don't have uncommon habits." And I think that that goes in line. So if your habits are common, maybe try 10% more. So, you know, when you get up tomorrow, or if you're a night owl, maybe try giving that 10% more, and you really go far, you know, because most people, they're not going to listen to that. But just think about it. It's such a big difference between greatness and everything else. And I don't know. I just thought that I wanted to give you that advice. Oh, I love you guys so much. Yeah, so tomorrow's Tuesday. I'll be back tomorrow. I won't do this on Thursday because Thursday that's my show, and I'm going to be a chatterbox and taking calls, and it's a little more fun. But I wanted to do this to calm you guys down because things are so crazy, and you're getting your cultural enrichment, these classic novels, and I find it quite fun. Um, although so much of them are very miserable. Like I was looking into Crime and Punishment. Man, I don't know, it's a little dark. It's about you know, well, it's a Russian novel about a guy and he commits two murders, and in the dealing with the aftermath. Let me know if you've read Crime and Punishment. Um, that you know, it's the punishment I think literally, and also in his mind that he punishes himself with the guilt and the whole mental process. A lot of people that are into um, psychology and stuff, they do reference that a lot. But I don't want to read that. I want to read something a bit here. And oh, and did you know that I have that Disney poster on my wall of Robin Crusoe of some Disney movie with Nancy Kwan in it, I believe. I may be wrong, but I think this whole time I wasn't even aware that it was this how Benny the Bus. I don't know. I don't think I'm gonna read Benny the Bus. So that would take 12 minutes. I don't know. Um, but yeah, so I thought this would be a little more fun. I don't think that was slavery, but yeah. So thank you all for coming. Thank you, YouTube, for reinstating my last show. And I will see you all tomorrow.